To talk about Barrick Gold, Mali, Russian influence in Mali, and also the general tendency right now for gold to be of interest to investors. So, if you've been paying attention since the pandemic, since Russia's invasion in Ukraine, there's been an uptick in gold, a pretty high uptick in gold, due to a number of reasons. One being the Ukrainian war, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. You might see this in how China has been selling its U.S. reserves for gold. And so this is also due to the inflation in America. So ever since America put regulations around Russian assets, there has been a move by some countries to fear being too connected to the U.S. dollar-based system would be a potential crisis for them in the future if America ever decided to have a problem with any particular country. If a country is too tied to the dollar and in the future their government does something that the American government doesn't agree with, what is to say that the American government won't have control over their economy, over their use of money in the same way that it has done to the Russian economy? So that is one reason that gold has been going up over the past couple months, past year, in fact. And within this, we have a number of companies that have been doing decently well. Barrick Gold does not seem to be doing particularly well at the moment, but it has still been going up over the past year. But Barrick Gold is situated in Mali. To make a long story short, Mali was a French colony, became independent in 1960, and after 1960 it tried to get away from France and kind of became better friends with the Soviet Union, as a lot of African countries did in the wake of not wanting to be too close to their old colonial masters. But they eventually came back to France in 1967 and were still close to the Soviet Union, but were still in good terms with France as well. And one might say this is why France often tries to play the third way in the world, being friends with Europe, being friends with America, but also not being enemies with countries like China. Throughout the Cold War, France was probably better friends with China than a lot of other countries in the Western Bloc, because keeping things like this, they would be better able to still remain somewhat in relation with the African countries that they once had control over. However, in the past 10 years, there has been war and terrorists in Mali and surrounding countries, and France has sent people to go help with anti-terrorism, but that has not worked. And in the past 4 years since the pandemic, there have been coups that have brought military to power, and this military coup has stood on a message of anti-French influence in Mali. And so the French have basically been kicked out of Mali, and who have they called? The Russians. And the Russian Wagner Group has been sending mercenaries to Mali to act kind of as a replacement for the French in that region. And this is where the gold comes in. The Wagner Group, who have connections to the Russian government, are helping the Malian government perhaps take over the mines in Mali. Mali has been a big producer of gold since ancient times. In the 14th century, its king was the richest person in the world, or maybe one of the richest people in the world, because of his control of the gold trade. And gold still plays a part in Mali today. And where does this come into play? Well, investors are investing in gold, and Russia is getting some influence over the gold trade. And also, going into these African countries that are becoming more skeptical of European and American influence is going to be interesting. America, who usually tries to be very black and white in how they approach some countries, has stopped allowing Mali to be part of its free trade agreement and Mali is not allowed to be in military ties with the American government. So Russia has a vacuum to fill. So how does this play into investments into gold? And how does this play into the grander international scheme of Russia, the invasion of Ukraine, or just Russian soft power internationally, and Western European and American soft power around the world, in particular in Africa, which may not be too important at the moment, but over the next couple of decades, Africa will be the place where population booms and perhaps a lot of development occurs. Maybe not perhaps in Mali, which is situated in the Sahara Desert, but definitely in the nearby Nigeria. So this will be interesting to see. If you have any thoughts, please let me know. Bye.